There's my audience for the speech. All right. Hello, my name is Chris Perez. I'm 25 years old, and today I'm going to be taking a moment to share a little bit about my life through some items in this bag. Throughout my life, I was always someone who was shy, kept to himself, was always an introvert, never wanted to break out of his shell. And these items have shown how I've grown through that, how I was able to adapt and become more of an extrovert through putting myself out there. The first item in my bag is a pin that I got from Tennessee in Anakeesta. This was the very first trip I took by myself. It was just my girlfriend and myself on this trip. And the reason this pin holds a lot of value to me is it represents and shows the memories that I had from that trip. The photos don't do it justice. This holds a lot of the memories that I can remember from my very first trip and getting out of my comfort zone. The second item that I have in my bag holds value because from a young age, like I said, I was someone who was very quiet, kept to himself, didn't want to do a lot. And the second item I have here is a Spider-Man plush. I'm a very big comic book nerd. I love Spider-Man. He was the first superhero that I gravitated to when I was a kid. More so because Peter Parker was someone who was also quiet, kept to himself, was nerdy, was shy. And it wasn't until he became Spider-Man where he really broke out of his shell, and he was someone that I could gravitate towards. Now, I always wanted to be a real-life superhero. Who doesn't? But I wasn't going to go down the route of getting bit by a radioactive spider. So the next best thing I could do was combat sports. This is an MMA glove. I partaked in wrestling, jiu-jitsu, boxing, and kickboxing. This sport taught me a lot of discipline, taught me how to take responsibility in my own hands whilst being in combat. It taught me how to use this quote-unquote power for good, not bullying other people, not hurting others, but using it in a self-defense manner. This was a sport that meant a lot to me. It still holds a lot in my heart to this day, which kind of brings up the fourth and final item that I have in my bag. Unfortunately, last year, in the early months, I had suffered a clavicle injury where I dislocated my clavicle, and I was put on the shelf for a long time, still am. And it kind of led me to resort back to that in my shell, back in my comfort zone, didn't want to put myself out there, wanted to stay away from the world. But it wasn't until this item that I found that my brother gave me a long time ago. It was this little towel that says never give up. This towel is a representation of all I've been through. I was someone who was quiet, timid, wanted to keep to himself. But these items and that towel, most importantly, reminds me that I've done a lot, that I've come a long way, that I shouldn't give up easily, no matter how hard life gets. When things are thrown at you, it's just a resemblance of who I am as a person. I don't give up easily, even though I want to, even though things are thrown my way. I just don't give up. And even though it's easy to give up, I know that when things get tough, there's always something on the other side that's much more rewarding than just calling it quits. This is who I am. This is just a glimpse of how I've grown over the years. From being this kid who was always quiet, shy, afraid of the world, to someone who's grown up to be ready to take on the world. And I just want to thank you for this time, for allowing me to talk about myself and show who I am. Thank you.